Let's do it. So first of all, very good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining from. And welcome on the 2021 VDI Like a Pro launch event. So normally small applause, but like with the new normal, I'm doing it myself on behalf of you. I hope you are very excited to learn more about what are the sort of trends and what is like the status of the EUC community of customers with like thousands, hundreds of thousands of users in their environment. So I'm Christiaan Brinkhoff. I'm the opener here, and I'm doing it together with Ruben and with Mark. So let's just get started and say a huge thank you to all of you, because this year is not normal. This year is exceeding every records. Because normally we had like around roughly 700 participants in the survey out of the community. So all independent people that filled in the survey. This year, and you see the number on the screen, we had 1,647, which is a record-breaking number. And it increased, as I just said, with thousands of participants. So that made us like, breaking our record, right? So we basically can fill that record in again as a book of world records, so to say. So let's move over to Ruben and talk a little bit about where the responses came from.
Yeah, again, big thanks for everyone across the world, across the globe who participated. People from more than 60 countries did support this community project. So community power in action is what applies here. 1647. That's the number Christiaan already shared, but also another number is 11 minutes. That's a total time it took on average for you to complete the survey, and more than 10,000 people did view the landing page of the survey.
So that's 18,000 minutes wasted, Ruben.
No, not wasted. It's pure value for sure.
Well spent time.
Exactly, and it's becoming a trend. Like America first, Netherlands second. Last year we made that joke, inside joke as well. So why this trend? Good question. We don't know exactly, but what we do know is that we engage more with different communities as well, and different communities did support the survey. 42% is North America. Netherlands is 11.6%. Declined compared to 2020, likely because we just have much more people supporting the survey compared to last year. UK is 8% and Germany is 5%. Oh yeah, there we go. Three Musketeers, exactly. Proud to be Dutch. I'm proud and happy to work close with Mark and Christiaan, and indeed we are like the three Musketeers. We are well known in the EUC space, but this year we name ourselves the Dutch Stroopwafel Army, the Dutch Stroopwafel Army. So talking about Dutch and stroopwafels, Mark, I think it's good if you're next and share some love around the community.
Absolutely, because to convince all of you guys to join, we thought not a lot of people would join our survey if we didn't put something against it. Boy, were we wrong. But we actually want to raffle some prizes, so I'm the first giveaway. I'm also very happy to announce that I'm just sneaky putting a sponsor message in there that Login VSI is happy to sponsor the Amazon gift cards. So Login VSI, everybody knows it, so I'm not going to explain too much what we do. But we're giving away 2 gift cards and a Dutch package. Of course, it contains stroopwafels, and we'll throw in a bit more exclusive stuff as long as it's legal to send it. Of course, internationally, we'll do that. And the first winner, I don't actually know if he's in here, is Mr. Kolb from Germany. And the second winner that we've drafted randomly is Mr. Watson from the United Kingdom. Now, we did promise more winners, so we're going to announce 2 more at the end of this webinar. We didn't pick those yet because we wanted it to be people who were actually in the webinar today. So while we are talking, we're also having some background conversations and picking you there. And it might just be the people who are the most fun in the questions box or whatever way you stand out. Most messages on social media, take a pick. We are happy to be bribed before we send out gifts. So we will pick 2 more winners at the end of the show.
Cool.
And with that, let's go to the next slide.
Yeah, exactly. Back to the past. So this is the 8th edition of the survey. So we started in 2012 Back in the days, it wasn't called VDI Like a Pro, but it was called Virtual Reality Check, VRC. And VRC started as a community project as well, with the main focus of performance benchmarking. Back in the days, vSphere, Hyper-V, Zen Server, different Intel versus AMD benchmarks, different versions of Windows, antivirus impact, AppV impact, these type of benchmarks we did. And we collected a lot of email addresses from the people who downloaded all these kind of white papers. And we thought, well, why not ask the same audience questions about what platform are they using and how it's configured. And that's how actually the survey was born. VRC became Project VRC, Project VRC became VDI Like a Pro, and here we are, a unique community-driven platform where the results are available for everyone. So if you want to use the results in your user group, or even from a vendor perspective, we're totally fine with that. Pure community, like I would say, love, share that info, but also, just add mention the community in the results. So if you use the results, mention VDI Like a Pro, and you're good to go to use the results with that. If we look back from past workspace surveys, you could say 2020 last year, the majority of feedback around the question, what is the most important workspace initiative, was desktop as a service. And second is application container technology. And third is Office 365, as you can see here. And over the years, that changed. Windows 10, from Win 7, Win 8, majority Win 7, to Win 10, multiple years was like the highest rated. And it's interesting to see what this year is the most important sort of community initiative, right? And stay tuned for that. I will not spoil the beans for that right now, because that's indeed an interesting question, and I will share the results at the end of this event. But first, Mark.
Yeah, is this our first coffee break?
Yeah, sure.
We'll be back in momentarily. Yeah, no more prizes. That'll be a little bit longer. That we're going to discuss work from home for a little bit. And funny enough, before this webinar, I was looking on the Urban Dictionary to see what else WFH could mean. But it kind of, people there nailed it. Slacking off, not wanting to do any work, sounds perfectly legit. An easy way to hide from coworkers and making them think you're working. And these were people that were posting these messages in 2003 and 2008. And has the world changed, right? There's also a few that were very much not suitable for a launch webinar. So if you want to have some fun, check the Urban Dictionary. But these guys were, in their time probably right, but this year completely shifted everything, right? First of all, when you start to do work from home, you wanted to have more time to do stuff. But this year, that wasn't really happening. We had all the time in the world at home, but everything you wanted to do outside completely and utterly failed. So I guess you got up in the morning, did the same as we did, opened our notebooks, did some work, went downstairs for lunch, maybe with your family, opened your notebook again and went to sleep. That's been the rhythm. Fortunately, in the Netherlands, we're opening up a little bit again. And I hope in your part of the world the same is happening right now, and everybody is safe and healthy, so that we're going back to the new normal as soon as possible. And I can't wait personally. And
one of the fun things as well, what we want to combine in the survey, of course, because some questions are really serious, but we want to create sort of a community fun vibe in answering those questions. And one of the ending questions we added to the survey is, what's the most unnecessary fun thing that you bought or received during the COVID-19 pandemic? So during the time where we're all in, while you're working more from home. And with useless or unnecessary things, we mean things like this, right? A box that opens up and closes. Has no purpose, but still it's involving technology, so it's fun. You could think about this, right? Is this useful? Some people probably answered it yes, but these are the kind of things that we look for. So small joke here, but focusing more on useful stuff and reflecting us or reflecting that question to ourselves, to myself and to Ruben. So Ruben bought, for example, a new bike and got his driver's license.
Yep. Some people thought that this is like a render picture, but this is actually the bike. Someone made a professional photo of it. So good stuff.
Exactly, and this is a great example of flipping like a negative time in something to learn where you don't have the time for, and take something out of it. It's the same with your work from home concept, right? Your setup, your displays, you're working more primarily from home as ever before, so you invest more money in your own work from home setup, right? And that's what I personally did as well. So on the left side, you see my home setup 2 years ago.
Did you eat all those stroopwafels already? I see there's a lot of stroopwafels there beneath your desk.
Yeah, they are conceptual stroopwafels. I have them all over here. So, and on the right side, you see how it looks today. So I invested a lot of time and money in that because it creates a better productivity at my own home office. Something I started doing as well, or basically did together, is getting a baby, right? And we saw those results coming from other participants as well. So really happy with extending the family with a son 3 weeks back. So really blessed that everything is healthy and going very good so far. And Mark spent some money on a 3D printer. So time well spent, I guess, as well, increasing the hobby time and building some stuff for his kids as well, right, Mark? Some toys custom made. So really cool example of flipping a negative time in a positive thing. And that's what we want to achieve with that question. And here are the results on the screen of all the people, all the results, all the inputs, what we received. And here you can see some examples of people, as well bought like work from home equipment, like webcams. Some people bought a Nintendo, as you can see. We saw chicken as well coming back in the list. I don't know if the person is on here. I don't know if you mean Kentucky Fried Chicken, you eat more, or you bought a chicken for in the backyard. I don't know.
To be sure, we did mute everybody because we did not want chicken noise in this meeting.
Yeah, it could be right that the chickens are taking over the planet here. So Ruben, what do you think?
What I find about like this list that you described, like Nintendo, there was a Russian Nintendo, and also like PlayStation 5 and new Xbox was like on the top list as well. A mini beard. Yeah, probably a good thing as well. And you mentioned chicken, so that was my sort of highlight. What I saw in the list of people, like with the around the question you shared earlier. So, alrighty, that's exactly my motorbike in action. Sweet. Well, alrighty, let's go. And I would say action with more real survey results. And this is, I think, the main part of the event. Let's go. Again, good reminder, maybe not again, but a good reminder is social media action, community power. That's what's all about in this survey. So please share, make a photo, selfie, share results, all good to go on social media. And maybe we'll use that as well to pick one of the two winners for this event. Yeah, there he goes, Mark.
Yeah, somebody has to start, right?
Yeah, exactly. So in this survey, there are 5 main themes, as you can see here. Operating systems, infrastructure, hypervisors, storage, GPUs are part of the second one. Application layering, imaging, updates, management, isolation, antivirus, workspace portals are part of the third one. Various questions, like the question around what useless thing did you buy or did you get? Or maybe not useless, fun could be as well. But also load testing, patching, devices, display, configuration. And the 5th topic is all about public cloud, use cases, desktop as a service, challenges, product strategy, GPUs. So these are like the main themes in this survey. Well, what we'll do, Mark, Christian, and I will pick sort of not random because we prepped, but of course we don't cover all the questions. That's already done in the white paper, but we pick up quite a lot questions, and we'll move fast around these questions. And the first question here is, where are your workload machines hosted when you're running virtual applications and desktops? And if you look at the results, and I connect the results also with last year's, which is great, the hybrid use case, so running workloads both on premises and in public cloud or public clouds, increased from close to 30% in 2020 to 44.5% in 2021. It's more than 15% increase. And on-prem only declined from close to 58.8% in 2020 to 40% in 2022. And public cloud only increased from close to 12%, 11.9% in 2020 to 16.1% in 2021. Oh, a bit too fast. There we go. When we talk about virtual apps and desktop as a service as the main theme for the survey, one of the other, I would say, main questions is also, what is the percentage of applications in your complete environment are native Windows applications? So what is the role of Windows applications? A fundamental question, of course, in this part of end-user computing. And close to 70% of all the applications in the organizations are Windows-based applications. 22.3% are web and software as a service applications, and 8.3% are mobile applications. So for me, it's not a surprise. Well, I'm really active in that part of the EUC space, and there are millions and millions of Windows applications active today. Hence, also Windows is part of the modern workspace. Today and also tomorrow, and also like in years and years from now. Windows is a fundamental element, not the only element, as we all know, but a fundamental element, and that's what also this question highlights.
So echoing that as well, Windows applications is one of the main reasons why businesses pick a desktop virtualization environment, so they can run that in that environment in a more centralized and easy way. And there are as well some people that cockroaches and Twinkies and Windows app will survive a nuclear war, right? So it probably lasts for a very long time. And the results that we just presented to you are sort of the living proof of that going strong. So let's talk a little bit about operating systems. So we asked as well the question, what single and multi-use operating system are you using? So the vast majority of the attendees or the participants is probably a better word here of single session are using Windows 10 1903 and 1909. So basically, two builds back to the current release. So that's an interesting result. So of course, larger enterprises are not on the latest release, but it's interesting to see that 2004 is not what the vast majority is using, but it's the runner-up, of course. So like next year, it probably will catch up on that side. On the right side, you see the results of multi-session, and you see that Windows Server 2016 is what the vast majority is using, but Server 2019 is catching up there. But what you can see on the top end there is that Windows 10 Enterprise multi-session is catching up there as well, with the increasement of the demand of work from home and the usage of Windows Virtual Desktop, because the Windows 10 Enterprise multi-session operating system can only be used with Windows Virtual Desktop and by the partners, for example. So another question in the same context of single session, multi-session that we asked was, do the end users use desktops, like a published desktop, or remote apps specifically? So what's the ratio of that? And it's interesting to see that published apps is like 1/3 of what the attendees, what the participants have filled into the survey. And that published desktop, so really like having your full desktop published to the end user, is what the vast majority is using, and that's 67% of the results out of 1,647 participants.
What I find interesting, Christian, is like I see both sides. I can see these numbers also in the field. And certain use cases, like customers with Chromebooks, as an example, are focused on the application side. They don't care about the sort of Windows desktop running on their Chromebook. Also, like Windows 10 sort of running native on the endpoint with certain applications sort of published and remoted from the cloud or on-prem to the Win 10 machine is also what I see. So I see more customers getting interested in application delivery only, while historically the majority is more like desktop publishing. That's what I see. And also geographically, US versus sort of Europe versus Europe. I also see Europe more desktop focused than US focused. Not based on the survey, just like personal observation in the field.
Cool. All right, let's talk a little bit about applications. And while I do that, I want to remind you we are in the questions box, so please heckle us, have fun with this. Do want to remind you that we're still giving away 2 prizes at the end of this webinar. So probably the most funny or most annoying person in the questions box will win that. And some of the questions are actually good enough that I'm sharing them out to the whole crowd, but there's a lot more coming in. So let's have fun, keep on having fun there. Are you currently using application layering techniques? That's the first question we ask you around this technology. Last year, the most popular choice by far, with 61%, was no. I'm not using any of that technology. Followed second place by Citrix. So let's see where we went this year. We actually had a significant drop in people that said no, but we also had a drop in Citrix layering. And this is because stuff moves around, right? It goes through other vendors. And over time, of course, people decide to stick with one technology or the other. And last but not least, of course, Microsoft coming out with MSIX and MSIX App Attach, which has eaten a little bit of both Citrix, the no option, and of course, VMware App Volumes. I couldn't get to the name. It's right here in the notes, though. So on the next slide, there we go. We have some various topics. So let's dive into those and open in my notes here as well. So last year we asked you, and this year as well, do you perform load tests in your virtual applications and desktops environment? So do you actively try to break it before you bring something to production? And last year, 53% of you said yes, or they were not sure. This year, let's see if I click, there we go. We see that it's still a very high amount of people that are saying yes. And personally, I can tell you that a lot of people have rang our phones because they're doing, work from home. We quickly need to scale this thing. Can we do a load test before we do that? We see a lot of cloud and desktop as a service initiatives. I will tell you exactly how many we're doing in a few slides. From experience, I can tell you that this has definitely caused a spike in load testing. Funny enough, there are still quite a few people who are not sure. Well, if on a regular basis your environment breaks because one of your IT admins is doing some testing, it's probably load testing, and it would be nice if you are aware of that, of course. But the most important thing is that you.
Just coming back to that question, something that I see really happening is that leveraging cloud services that like auto scaling and those kind of things are sort of proactively taking care of that as well. So it sometimes differs a little bit what the environment is, of course.
Correct. Yeah, and especially with auto-scaling and cloud price per instance and value for performance versus price. Not going to do that discussion now, but you are absolutely right. But what are today's biggest challenges with your on-premises? So we are going to go to the cloud, but what are your biggest challenges with your on-premise virtual applications and desktops environments? Again, this combines nicely with, well, can you say combines nicely with COVID? No, you can't say that, but it is inspired by COVID and the cloud, because user experience, especially when using voice over IP and webcams like we're doing right now, are one of the biggest problems you guys have indicated to us this year. I think you're on mute is the quote of 2020, as well as you're breaking up, or I'm sorry, the kids are playing a game online, so my latency is terrible. I think globally we agree that this is absolutely horrible, but there are big steps being made also by vendors on this. Increasing desktop session density, second place, makes sense, right? Getting the most capacity per server was important. On-prem becomes more important in the cloud. Overall cost reduction. Makes sense. Security. I don't know if you've watched the news, but it's all over the place that security is a big problem. They've got a COVID app in the Netherlands here just today or yesterday. They pulled that because data leaks. It's one of the biggest problems. I think if you're in security this year or next year is going to be very interesting for you. There will be plenty of business. And this brings us to how are Windows operating systems and applications installed and managed in your main platform. This has a very big impact on the quality of your environment, by the way. So people are talking about DevOps, Agile, automation. They're all popular, but do the results reflect this? Let's look at it. I'm always so disappointed when I see this answer. Most people are still doing everything manually. So 26% of you are very stubborn. It's just statistics, right? 26% of the people in this meeting are probably doing things manually. And there's good reasons for that, although the outcome of that, the quality of that can vary. I actually cross-tabulated that question with business verticals, and that was quite interesting. The verticals where people are mostly doing things manually, and think for a second which one you think they are, because I was surprised by this: finance, healthcare, and the last one that my jaw dropped is IT. So the vertical where people are doing most things manually is IT people in 2021. Congratulations. So that's the mind boggles.
We also should check, not now but later, if like the size of the organization also is like impacting the result, like smaller companies or smaller organizations versus like larger enterprises. Could want to write down. I will make a mental note myself. I'm just curious.
Another one potentially in which context, like focus more on whether this is like coming from like on-prem or in the clouds, like really differentiate this question. Perhaps like customers moving to a DaaS solution are starting more from doing it automated than in like old-fashioned environment on premises, for example. So it would be interesting to see that as well next year potentially.
Yeah, so Ruben, let's dive into that question after the webinar and keep an eye on also on social media, and we'll post the outcome there. So how often do you patch your systems? Last year, the most popular vote was once per month. Same for this year. We did see increase, however, in people who are patching more often, so multiple times per week. Is gaining in popularity, especially if you look at it over a longer time, and it makes sense, right? I think nobody is surprised by this. So with that, let's go to Ruben for a little bit of discussion about public cloud.
Yeah, which is good because we're already 60 slides into a deck of 100, so we're making good progress, and we're covering a lot of content, which is great. So in the context of public cloud, why are we or our customers using or potentially interested in desktop as a service is the question here. As you can see here, cloud first and also disaster recovery and business continuity, which are two separate things, sometimes combined, but also different things, are funny enough both on the first place with exactly the same response number. When I look back to 2020, there's no increase in cloud first compared to 2020. But business continuity and disaster recovery has a huge jump from 11% in 2020 to close to 18%, 17.9% in 2021. And also what I find interesting to see is that not interested is declining even more compared to 2020. The number is smaller this year, but declined compared to last year. Oh, there's a little bit delay here. Okay, which virtual desktop as a service or which desktop as a service solution are you using or will you introduce is the next question. Microsoft WVD is considered or is being used by 26.9%, which is similar compared to last year. Citrix virtual app and desktop at close to 15%, and virtual apps and desktop with Citrix Cloud or via Citrix Cloud at 11.5%. If you combine the different Citrix solutions, which are being used or will be introduced close to 30%, 30.7%, and different VMware solutions are being used or will be introduced close to 10%, 9.27% to be precise. On the frame side, used or will be introduced 8%, and people who are using Amazon Workspaces specifically 6.7%, as you can see here. Let's see, let's go ahead one slide. Yeah, you can see the comparison between last year, also nice. There are more graphs like this also in the white paper. What I find interesting actually is I expected Amazon Workspaces to be much bigger, but like community power also applies here. What I see is that the community, the end user computing community around Amazon is also much smaller or less active, or maybe different. That can also be a reason for certain results, like I just shared. Alrighty, which GPU, which graphical processor unit do you use or will you use in your virtual app and desktop environment in the cloud? And interesting here is that like Azure is huge here, like the biggest one here, and NVIDIA is leading that pack, which makes sense. But also great to see, cool to see that AMD with the NVV4 CPU and GPUs are also pretty substantial in this in the survey. So close to 10% of the people who are using GPUs are using AMD-based GPUs, which is great. Why? Because it's great to have choice, it's great to have competition, and it's healthy for everyone. If you compare that with last year, well, you can see here the results here. It's good to see AMD growing, and let's see what happens next year and next years. I should say, while GPU is being used for sure, the majority of people who fill in the survey are not using GPUs. At top of my head, close to 60% are not using GPUs when running desktops or apps in public cloud. Talking about public cloud, another question is what are the biggest challenges in public cloud? 4 biggest challenges in adopting public cloud for DaaS are creating a positive, cost-efficient business case, close to 20%, which is a huge increase compared to 2020, almost double compared to last year. Second is performance of the solution at 15.3%, also an increase compared to 2020. 2020 was 9%, so 9% to 15.3% in 2021. Third one is legal and regulation, close to 11%. So that's less or much less than compared to 2020. And finally, knowledge in cloud services is a concern with 8.2%, which is a small increase compared to 2020. Alrighty, Christiaan, up to you.
Yeah, so one of the new questions we added, which is more focused on public cloud and desktop as a service, is how much are you willing to pay for a desktop in the cloud's desktop as a service environment, and then specifically the control plane and as well the IaaS, the compute part of it, per user per month. So let me show you the results out of that. So here you can see a differentiation between a regular user, a knowledge worker, and a GPU accelerated workstation user. And what you can see here is that the vast majority is willing to pay for a normal office worker between €1, which is, of course, if you are from the Netherlands, I know we want to be as cheap as possible for the best quality, but let's say between 1 and 20 is a realistic number. That's what the vast majority is willing to pay, but we see as well that the runner-up and the third number between 21 and 40 and 41 to 60 being a realistic number. Just to be frank, coming from the IT consultancy area and space as well, I think coming from on-prem, you don't really know exactly what you pay because physical hardware is being purchased. Moving to the cloud makes it more visible, so to say, what you pay. So there's a differentiation between what is realistic and what not. And what you see on the GPU side, for example, are really low numbers. So I think the GPU numbers are not realistic. It gives them a feeling on what they think they pay, but it's a little bit higher, of course, because GPU workloads are a little bit more expensive to pay for. So I think really interesting to see, and as well to see evolving over the next year. So we have the data in this year, and next year we will ask the question again and see if the numbers are going up or going down in terms of paying for a desktop in the cloud. So in relationship of that question, we asked as well the question, a new one, who's responsible for the IaaS environment, for the subscription, for the compute part of your desktops in the cloud? So basically the subscription, networking, etc. And the vast majority responded that their own IT department is maintaining the subscription and doing the maintenance around that. The runner-up is partners, so SIs, MSPs are doing that work on behalf of the customer. And then afterwards, in the third number, we see that the participants are investigating different alternative options. So that could be that they move to a public cloud service that is taking care of that for the customer, or to a partner, for example. It's really a bucket that we might see next year evolving in some of the other options, like public clouds, or basically just do it yourself as well. So something we asked as well as a new question, which is interesting because we never did that before, is which remoting protocol configuration do you primarily use as part of your virtual apps and desktops environment, which reflects as well desktop as a service. So here you can see that Citrix HDX is the main protocol being used. So the combination between on-prem and the cloud, move some protocol options further up as the results that you saw in the desktop as a service graph, for example, that Ruben just presented to you. What you see as a runner-up is Microsoft RDP. You see Microsoft RDP and ShortPad as well being picked as sort of a combination between Microsoft RDP and a combination between TCP and UDP. Citrix HDX, same thing with Enlightened Data Transfer Protocol optimizations that you can apply to the native HDX protocol. And then on top of that, you see different categories of Amazon workspaces that you can pick as part of the configuration in that. And what we see there as well is VMware Horizon Blast being used by 9%. So interesting results. And as well, interesting to see how this sort of unfolds and evolves in the future while we make changes to a different solution. So another topic which is close to my heart, because I've been working for AppsLogix, which is acquired by Microsoft for a while ago, and for Microsoft working right now. So this is one of the new questions that we put in to reflect, okay, the adoption of that product, and how does that result in the size of the Windows profiles? Does that change? And as well, of course, with change moving more to cloud services like Exchange Online, OneDrive, how does that relate to the size of your Windows profile? So we asked the question, how large are your Windows profiles on average as part of your virtual apps and desktops environment? So interesting results that the vast majority is consuming or is using up to 5 gigabytes, between 1 and 5 gigabytes of profile size. Second number is between 5 and 10, and the third one is between 10 and 20. So of course, really reflecting of course, the policy sets and configuration that you define that could extend that size of your Windows profile. And if you do proper cleanups afterwards as well to consolidate that in your environment. As well, interesting to see how this evolves in the future, of course. Other interesting question, which we asked earlier, not a new one, is how is the user environment managed within your virtual apps and desktops environment? So here you see a complete list of all the different options and configuration solutions that you can apply for that. And what we have been seeing since the AppsLogix acquisition is that AppsLogix really started to grow because of the efficient licensing model for RDS and customers that use RDS licenses, and as well in Microsoft Azure. Other runner-ups are Citrix User Profile Management and the Citrix Workspace Environment Management solution, and some other solutions like the VMware Dynamic Environment Manager are being used by the vast majority of end-user computing customers. So if you look back over the last 6-7 years, you can really see that on the right side that over the last 3 years, Microsoft AppsLogix, previously known as AppsLogix, started to take off. A small decreasement in Citrix UPM, as you can see, and VMware and Absence and all the other solutions are really consistent, as you can see, over the years. So reflecting the profile solution on, where do you store those profiles, right? We asked the question, also a new one, on what cloud storage platform do you store your Windows profiles? On an SMB, file server, file cloud, cloud as a service environment. So here you can see the results of that, and if you use in the context of Windows Virtual Desktop, whether it's via partner or native, you mostly responded with Azure Files Premium, Azure Files Standard as well as a runner-up. But interesting to see is that 15% responded this question with SMB file share on a VM. So just IaaS, creating a storage space direct cluster or another solution on top of an VM, which can cause a little bit more overhead in terms of management. So interesting numbers, Azure native files being used by 10% and some other technologies that you can see here on the list too. So really interesting results to see as well evolving over the next couple of years in the change perhaps to hybrid public clouds and how that reflects the solutions that you use to simplify your existing legacy or traditional, probably better wording, to a software as a service solution or platform as a service technology. So Mark, give it away.
So I was just having a laugh with the people in the chat. I see Ruben is also having a lot of fun here. So somebody's trying to win the prize for being the most annoying during in the questions box. I can tell you that's a hard thing. So if you want to have fun, have some questions. Some of them will answer publicly, some privately, but we're having a lot of fun in the chat. So please feel free to respond there.
It's not really chat, but questions and answers. We answer them. You cannot use a chat like the chat option, but the questions option is doing well. A lot of good questions and great feedback and fun feedback along the line. So all good.
Yeah, and there's just one thing. Everybody who has already received one major gift basket last year is not getting anything again this year. I also want to encourage my two other presenters, Christiaan and Ruben, to both pick a winner as we speak, because we need those names in a bit. Okay, perfect. So what are the most answered initiatives? So I completely lost where we're at. Please come in. Animation. Where's the animation? Maybe Christiaan, you can click for me. There we go.
Wow.
So
it's animation, beautiful.
Yeah, and Windows 95 actually did not come up, but there's a lot of initiatives that are going on. So if we can go to the next slide, and that works for me. We have a drum roll sound. You can't hear it, but you just have to imagine you're hearing one right now. The most important end-user computing initiatives for 2021. Third place, IT self-service. So registering apps yourself and getting access to them, those workflows, and a nice bit of automation there. Second place goes to Office 365. First place this year goes to desktop as a service. And let me quickly switch back, because I did have in the notes, the winners for last year in 2020 were desktop as a service, application container technologies, and Office 365. So you can really see that Office 365 is one that's here to stay. We did lose migrating to Windows 10 this year. So maybe if we split it up next year, we can ask which version of Windows 10 are you going? Obviously, the majority has by now made the jump over. So some prize winners. Maybe Ruben, you can announce.
I would say randomly. There's no sort of algorithm here. Although like T-shirts maybe suggest something else. I am AI, but no. I selected Patrick Coughlin. I'm not sure if I pronounce your last name correctly, but Patrick Coughlin. Why he asked the question, what is the strangest thing you've seen in the background on a video call? That's a good question, but I can tell you a story, and I cannot mention names, but what I've seen or what I've heard in a video call in the early days of COVID is that a colleague fell asleep during a call with his microphone on and was snoring. That was fun.
That must have been one of your.
That was a larger, like a sort of, I wouldn't say an all hands meeting, but it was a larger meeting, and it was just we're just laughing out loud pretty well. So that was crazy funny. Yeah, it was a late meeting for European colleagues, so maybe that helps. But it was fun to hear. But Patrick, please share your address with me. I did send you a personal message, and otherwise, if you didn't see that personal message, ruben@spruijt.com. You can find my Twitter handle or LinkedIn profile if not already connected. But happy to build a typical Dutch package together with Christiaan or Mark and send it to you. So big thanks.
Perfect. So Christiaan, who did you select?
Yeah, so the tricky thing here is that I'm the main presenter of the screen. So if I click on the chat, then I overrule all your control settings here. Oh, but I'm checking as we speak here, and I'm picking John Kelly. So you're the lucky winner. If you can reach out to either team@vdilikeapro.com or mail@christiaanbrinkhoff.com, whatever you prefer, and you can get your prize as well as soon as possible. And we will create a nice Dutch package with stroopwafels, a gift card, and something to surprise you. So some Dutch sweets.
You don't even have to send your address, Christiaan. I have John's address for you on file. He's I randomly selected him last time for a prize, so I don't know how this guy is doing it, but
well, I find interesting. Just looking at some comments and questions. So Greg had an also a snoring guy as well. Patrick had a goat in the background. And another story I have a colleague in the US, and he has a lot of cuckoo clocks in his room. No joke. So at a certain point in time during a meeting, it's like cuckoo, cuckoo for multiple seconds, and not one clock, but probably for sure multiple clocks. So it's always fun when he's on and has his microphone open. So some people ask, is it possible to get the report from the last years? As far as I know, Mark, we do have all the reports at VDI Like a Pro. So last year's is there to download. And also in today's, I would say this year's report, we also try to look back where it applies to last year's results. So this year's report also reflects last year's result for I would say the majority of questions. So yeah. Hey Christiaan, what's happening here?
Yeah, it's not mine, but it's just reflecting, okay, no crying. You didn't win, but you have a prize. Everybody has a prize here to win. And that's basically a white paper, right? So you get a white paper, everybody is getting a white paper. Not like Volkswagen Ups or other cars or things that you normally get on those shows, but the white paper, way more important, of course. So let me finish this off here. So if you want to get the white paper right now, you can get it in the chat. It's called under handouts. You can download it over there. But if you prefer to just make a picture and scan the QR code here in the middle, you can do so as well. If you prefer to just type it into your mobile browser or whatever, you have to go to VDI Like a Pro /survey 2021, and you will get it directly without entering any of your credentials, so to say. So that's your privilege that you have right now. Ruben, do you want to say something about the comments that we received, which were all very positive, of course?
Yeah, well, it's like I would say probably 200 or so people respond like, hey, great, thumbs up. Awesome work, community power, which is always good to hear. But we learn the most from people who supported the survey and also provided feedback like, hey, what about this question? Or this question wasn't clear enough for me. Or even like the survey was a little bit too long. All valid feedback, and we really appreciate feedback because that means we can make an even better survey next year. The feedback around the survey is too long. Happens every year, and every year we remove questions because we promise ourselves, hey, we should make the survey a little bit smaller so people are faster in finishing the survey. But every year we added also new awesome questions. So yeah, at the end,
we keep on hanging around the 11-minute mark.
Yeah, so I would say at the end, every year we are around that number: 10 minutes, 11 minutes, 9 minutes, 12 minutes. So yeah, and we communicate that in advance. So when you start the survey, we mention something like, hey, yeah, it will take probably 10, 15 minutes to finish the survey. So that's probably the sweet spot. And again, like more than 1,600 people supporting the survey is a really fabulous number. Yeah, all kudos and big thumbs up
please,
to everyone.
Please also just pick and share from the paper that what you like. If you want to have stuff from our PowerPoint and be on the soapbox and present this yourself and use the data, we really appreciate it if you do that, because then our work is not for just this one show. Also, please hit us up if you want to do that, because we really like to know where our stuff is being used. And it wouldn't be the first time that we're in, well, online now, but or in a room where somebody's presenting our own slides to us, which is really funny. So we're really proud if people use it. So please give us a heads up and use this in whatever way it helps your community, work, or a professional life, or just for fun. Or if you can't sleep, you can read it. Helps.
And also there are a lot of questions which we didn't cover here in the live event. I do see some people asking about storage area networks and the trends there. Yeah, there are many other questions also worth talking about. But yeah, when you have 45 minutes, 60 minutes for this event, you need to trim down the amount of questions. And we already had like 100 slides and a lot of questions covered. So, and it's also good to make sure people do read the white paper. So there are questions not covered here and covered in the white paper. So happy reading.
Yeah, just some examples of new questions that are not in this presentation but are in the survey are, for example, what's the main browser you use as part of your virtual apps and desktops environment? What's your printing solution setup configuration that you use as part of your virtual apps and desktops environment? So all kinds of very interesting results, I think. So definitely worth catching up in the white paper after this session.
Yep. Alrighty. I'm just scrolling through the questions. I do see most of the questions answered. If not, let's see if we can say goodbye and just stay on for a couple of minutes. If people have questions, we can just sort of ad hoc answer questions. That works for me.
Here, so
yeah. Sorry, I was reading into some questions, but yeah, I would say again, big thanks. From this Stroopwafel team from Netherlands for listening in. Big thanks for contributing to the survey. Stay healthy, stay tuned, and yeah, looking forward to meet somewhere in person, meet virtually in other events, and yeah, great. And thanks for joining.
Yeah, let's set it as a goal, like somewhere next year, meet physically, or do the next like 2022. Survey reveal party event, whatever you want to call it, in a physical or hybrid kind of manner as well. So really looking forward to connect with all of you, of course. So thank you.
Yeah, there's interesting suggestions coming in already for next year, like what types of biometrics are in use for authentication to VDI. It's a good one.
Good one.
Air passwordless authentication is definitely one of those trends as well. So good feedback.
Yeah, Mo Khan mentioned, like, I've been following this since the PQR days, and I mentioned indeed Project VRC, and VRC did start back in the PQR days, 2012, 2013. Yeah, good stuff. Thanks, Mo, for support. Let's see, anything else people ask? Is that an R9T BMW? Martin did ask that question. Yes, it is. It's an BMW R19, but it's a custom bike.
Somebody here asking what your 3D printer is, Mark. What type? And
yeah, it's the money pit type. You can sink all your money in that. So it's a Creality Ender V3 V2, which is it's a cheap entrance model, and then you start buying the add-ons, right? Adding it to the network, adding a touch sensor to it. So it wraps up quickly, but you can print really cool things with it. So Creality is a nice, I think, a nice IT admin printer. So you can tinker with it, but you can also start printing right away. So you get to success relatively quick.
Yep. A question and suggestion from Tarkan. If we can ask questions around industry trends, but not next year, but next years. So maybe more forward-looking question.
Really put you in the spot of like CTO, so to say. Like, what's your 5-year next kind of vision? What do you think? And just go randomly there. It would be an interesting thing, definitely.
So you can see already that like the 11 minutes. This is like always the struggle and battle we have when we prepare a new survey. Hey, what can be what is in and what is out? Because if we add something to the survey, the sort of structure we have is okay. Then also we need to move something out of the survey because we want to stay around like 10-ish minutes for the survey. But yeah, good one.
I also saw an interesting question from Alex on which verticals are people doing stuff manually to their master images? Does it correlate to companies who have outsourced their IT? I find that's a very interesting angle to look at the data.
Yeah.
Another one is responding to that 4% of the people don't know how often they patch their environment. Yeah, that's true. Could be that they just ignore the question. I think, was it a mandatory question in the survey? Do you remember, Mark?
No, but there's also quite a few marketing and non-technical people who fill the survey. So I'm guessing that they'll have updates set to automatic and have no idea how often that runs, which is fine if you're just doing one desktop.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, Greg had a question to you, Christian. Not sure if you can answer the question. Do you think that Citrix Profile Containers is in any kind of a replacement for FSLogix? Or maybe that question can be applied to Mark as well. Any view on that?
So I honestly never experienced anything with that product, that service. So I cannot answer that question. To be frank.
What I do see in the field, just in general, I would say, is a lot of FSLogix implementations, and because it's, I wouldn't call it free, but it's part of different entitlements, which applies to, I would say, all. So I do see a lot of customers using FSLogix or using FSLogix Profile Container specifically, and also app masking. If it's a replacement, yeah. Well, if it works, if Citrix Profile Containers is implemented and works as it should be, then why replace? But if there are sort of caveats or issues with it, then in my opinion, FSLogix is a good solution to look at.
It fully depends. It fully depends on the ecosystem you're in and whether that's on-prem and where you're going in the future, and it's complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah, with like more and more clouds.
Also, different solutions in that space. So gives options and choice.
But it really depends as well which kind of conceptual environment you have, right? So if you have a mix between virtual desktops and physical desktops, and you want to layer those profiles sort of in a unified manner, then it also depends if you have a multi-session, single session environment. And whether you use cloud services that can sort of save the profile settings already in the cloud. So the reason to capture your full profile becomes less because you capture those settings or data already in like a cloud service. So it would be interesting to see how that combination between cloud storage and local profiles will evolve in the future. So,
hey, Tarkan had an additional feedback on the question he asked before. His feedback is as part of the CTO question, so the sort of question what is on the horizon for the upcoming years, not year, but years. It would be interesting to see if DaaS/VDI is going to stay with thoughts around like cloud, and or are people jumping ship and go all the way software as a service? Actually, that question is sort of embedded also in this year's survey. The thing to keep in mind is that the audience, like I would say we, are mostly, call it DaaS/VDI focused. So when you fill in the survey and the audience is in this group, then you also get a response which fits in this group. And this type of question is also an interesting question, sort of outside this group, because very likely you'll get a different response on that question. This group very likely will say, well, DAS/VDI, virtual app and desktops, is here to stay. That's top of my head the sort of summary of the question. But to be fair, I do see also movement in sort of running apps, call it natively, on Windows devices, or migrating from Windows to web-based, less SaaS-based. That is also part of the I would say reality, which is happening.
So one of the new questions we asked this year as well is, what do you expect in, I think in the next couple of years, we asked what your single session or multi-session environment will do. Will you shift from multi-session to single session, from single session VDI, virtual desktops technologies, to physical PCs? So there is a question in the survey, in the white paper, that sort of focuses on that specific element, but not on the technology, but more from an operating system conceptual perspective. So
yeah, cool. I think we covered all the feedback questions, bike rides, 3D printers, profiles.
Yep. So just as a final remark, the full report is attached to this GoToWebinar, so there's no registration required. If you are on the website right now, these are the last few seconds you can download it without registration. So in a few minutes it will flip over. We do collect email addresses because we need you to join us again next year to participate in the survey. There's no commercial shenanigans. We're not selling anything. It's just for our own use. But then you know why we're doing that. So grab it while it's still hot and available. And with that, I think we can wrap up, guys.
Just one funny one.
Sure.
Somebody heard a goat on the background, so I don't know if you, Mark, have some intruders at your home.
No, there's sheep outside, but.
And some people thought, hey, this green screen from Ruben, we can add a pink goat or a pink duck or something else to that picture. That's always the downside if you're in front of a green screen. But
I will think about it in post-processing, Ruben.
All good. I can laugh about it. All good.
Sounds good.
Cool. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.